Hello, welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Scott Mailwood, got Sports 25 to life, and we're here talking about DraftKings. We're talking about all the action tonight on this big Tuesday slate with cash games, GPPs, a lot of great pitchers on the mound again. It seems like they're all coming in bunches recently, and take your pick of a lot of these top guys. There's a lot of guys in good spots. Obviously, some more than others, but I don't blame you for most of these top guys. As we look at it, Clayton Kershaw, of course, your biggest favorite on the board. And been a lot of a hate towards Clayton Kershaw I've been seeing on Twitter after his last couple times out. Basically, he's been getting pulled in the middle of innings, and then the bullpen implodes and gives up some runs. Last time out, a couple singles and a ground out, and Twitter was ablaze with people hating on Clayton Kershaw and him imploding from 2 weak singles. But he looks just fine to me. I mean, obviously, that's on Don Mattingly if he doesn't want to let the best pitcher in baseball throw 100 pitches. But now tonight he gets an Atlanta team that's just been awful against lefties. Their best hitters, you got Freddie Freeman, much better against righties, of course. Now he's in a lefty-lefty matchup. Really no other bats you're really concerned about. So, I mean, as a minus 240 favorite, he's got to be your top option once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really even that close for me. Our projections on Daily Fantasy Cafe, I included all of the emphasizing factors and stuff, and he's a ridiculous favorite as far as projections go on our site today. So he's a guy I'm going to be running out there a ton. I mean, the 12-4 price tag is a little ridiculous, but I mean, it's going to keep his ownership percentage down, and I think he's far and away the best play again today.
Yep.
I mean, I think that it's going to make him, even despite probably, I'm thinking he's probably going to be 20-25% owned still in GPPs at least. Maybe even a little higher than that. I think that makes him a great play in basically any format. Like you said, Atlanta's really been struggling against lefties. They haven't been particularly good against anyone lately.
True.
And at some point, he's just going to throw one of those games where no one can touch him, and he strikes out 12, 14 guys and pitches 8 innings, something like that, in a shutout or something. So I'm going to keep running him out there until it looks like he's not worth it. And right now, I mean, despite some of the struggles like you mentioned where he's given up a lot of, I mean, I would say bad luck runs. Yeah. I mean, there's really no reason to not trust the process and just keep running him out there, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, 4 earned runs in his last game. Like we said, 2 of those given up by the bullpen. Those runners on first and third, 1 out. I mean, we know Clayton Kershaw being a ground ball pitcher. It could have been 1 pitch, double play out of the inning, and we avoid a lot of that heartache. But at 99 pitches, you like to see him have a longer leash. He did throw 110 each of the 2 before that, but I mean, he's been under 100 in almost every start this year, which is a little bit strange. But either way, I expect him to be efficient tonight against this Atlanta team and pitch deep in the ball game. I'm really not concerned. I mean, his numbers at home are significantly better than they have been on the road, too. He's got 39 Ks and 25 2/3 innings at home, with just 23 hits allowed and 6 walks. So
yeah, his last home start against Colorado, he struck out 10 guys. I mean,
yeah,
like you said, if he can get up to over 100 pitches, I mean, you got to think he's going 7+ innings, and that's just not a guarantee really from anyone else out here. I mean, next guy on the list, David Price, has been really good a lot of times, but he's also been really bad a few times this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're getting a decent discount from Kershaw with Price, but he's also facing a little bit better lineup. He does have the nice advantage there because Oakland's not nearly as good against lefties as they are against righties. So I don't mind Price tonight. I think he's going to be a pretty strong GPP play because it feels like he's going to be pretty low owned with who I assume is going to be one of the heaviest guys, Bumgarner, against Milwaukee today, facing off against Garza for only 9,600. I think that's probably going to be a lot of people's cash game play. I'm not sure how you feel about DeGrom, but I think he's a pretty decent play today too. There's a lot of good plays. I think Price is probably going to be the most under-owned one out of all of them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, DeGrom, I think Price considered, it's Kershaw, and then for me it's either DeGrom or Bumgarner. DeGrom a bigger favorite. You obviously expect he's going to get some run support with Jerome Williams on the other side. Matt Garza's been kind of hit or miss over there, but San Francisco's starting to swing the bats pretty well. So I think those two are pretty close for me. I think I lean DeGrom just a little bit. I mean, because that last game, he was just incredible. I mean, 1 hit in 8 innings, 11 Ks against a Cardinals team that's one of the best in the league against right-handed pitching. I mean, now he gets one of the worst against right-handed pitching. We were kind of waiting for that game from Jacob DeGrom, and it came in that game, which was kind of surprising. So, I mean, if he pitches anywhere near that level tonight against the Phillies, he's going to put up a monster scoreline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he had, 43 or 44 DraftKings points in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a really great game.
Yeah. And he only
I
threw
feel
104 pitches. I kind of thought he'd come back out for the ninth.
Yeah, definitely. It felt like that. But, I mean, you can see just how cautious everybody's being with pitchers right now. I mean, the Mets going six-man rotation and stuff like that. I mean, we're not going to see guys throw 120, 130 pitches very often anymore. So I think we're past that. And so that's what stands out to be about Kershaw is he can give you 7+ innings at under 100 pitches is a great thing about him. So I think I'm sticking mostly to the top options at pitcher today. Is there anyone that you like cheap wise? I'm not like enamored with anyone.
There's nobody I love. I mean, obviously, you can look at Danny Salazar. He struggled last time against Texas, but I mean, still got obviously the monster strikeout upside. I think I prefer Clay Buchholz because Minnesota has struck out a lot more against righties. They've been killing lefties, as we know. Buchholz, of course, a righty. And I mean, he's been pitching deep into games. 7 1/3 and 8 in his last 2. Had 11 Ks against Seattle. We've seen some mediocre, like average-ish pitchers have big-time strikeout games against Minnesota. So I think, I mean, he gives you an okay floor. He's only had one game where he was really terrible. Well, 2, I guess. But I mean, he's got that big-time upside. And at $7,700, I think he'll be fine. And he should get plenty of run support with Mike Pelfrey on the mound on the other side. So I think he's my my middling pitcher and really the only one I really like around there.
Yeah, the only other one I'm really looking at is R.A. Dickey for GPPs. He's a guy continues to be up and down. Looked great against the Angels last game. Threw a complete game, struck out 7 guys. Gave up 4 earned runs, but I mean he's a guy that can throw a ton of pitches. We were just talking about how you're not getting a ton of pitches out of these guys, but I mean Dickey can go out there and throw 150 pitches if he wants to, and as long as he's pitching decent, they're gonna save the bullpen with him. I mean they've been doing it all year. I mean really even longer than that. He's got a couple 8-inning starts already on the year. I mean, he hasn't even needed to throw that many pitches. His control's been pretty good. He just hasn't. He's not the guy he used to be where he gets everyone out all the time. But when he's on, I mean, his knuckleball's still as good as it ever was. And he's a great GPP play almost any time he pitches at his price, especially against a team like the White Sox I'm struggling to hit.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you there. I mean, he's a guy, like you said, he's boom or bust. He's given up 2 home runs each of his last 3 games. But, you know, when that knuckleball is knuckling, like he's hard to hit. And so,
yep.
If you can throw a ton of pitches, go complete game. I know the Angels aren't exactly a great offense right now, but certainly some big time upside with him under 7K. So yep. I think he's going to be about as cheap as I go. I guess I wouldn't mind Alex Colomé if you need someone really cheap. 5,600 hasn't been great, but he's had some pretty good games between 15 and 25 fantasy points. And Seattle's just a terrible offense right now. I don't mind targeting him with anything that's slightly above average pitcher. I think he's a slightly above average pitcher, maybe average, but that's about it for me. I think I'm going to be pretty much, for the most part, just staying with these top guys tonight.
Me too.
All right, as we move on to catcher, you got to like Russell Martin against awful lefty and John Danks. We're going to be picking on him. He's $4,300. I like that. Miguel Montero, $3,200 is a cheap play in Wrigley. I don't know how much you're buying into the wind with the 2-1 game we saw yesterday. That was just, I had a ton of exposure to it, and it was a huge letdown. But either way, I'm not a huge believer in Jordan Zimmermann. His swing to strike rate's really, really low this year, one of the lowest in the league. So at $3,200, I really like Miguel Montero. Has been hitting righties well. Yeah,
that's the thing about wind is it's not a sure thing. You got to have people hitting fly balls into it and stuff like that. So it's something you can play. It's more, I don't worry about the wind a ton in cash games. But when it comes to GPPs, I mean, that's a fine stack. I mean, we've seen those big 13 to 11 games in Wrigley before where we have fly ball pitchers going and every fly ball is going out. Right now, I think it's blowing out to left center or whatever. So, I mean, that's more of a GPP play for me. But 3,200, Montero's probably the guy I'm going after in cash games if I'm taking a Cub in that game for cash games. Outside of that, I don't mind Carlos Santana against a pretty weak lefty in Rodriguez. He's up the second in the order. I think he had a home run yesterday. Seems like he's getting healthy and he's been pretty good. Outside of that, probably sticking with the guys at the top. I think Russell Martin's the obvious cash game play here.
Yeah, I agree. If you can afford him, that's the way you want to go. Maybe go down to one of those a little bit cheaper arms, maybe like the Danny Salazar type or maybe Madison Bumgarner, and then find that little extra salary to get Russell Martin because I definitely want him in my cash games tonight if I can.
Yep.
Speaking of that, his teammate Edwin Encarnacion, $5,300 at first base, obviously in play here. Expecting a lot of runs here for Toronto against John Danks. We know best team in the league against lefties, so get yourself as many as you can. I do like Abreu for tournaments against Dickey. Finally got off that home run skid a couple of games ago, so he's certainly in play. And then as you're looking cheaper, if you're not playing Danny Salazar, Prince Fielder's really getting it going. I mean, he's having a huge stretch right now. Home run and 3 RBIs last night. 2 RBIs in double game before. Home run, 3 RBIs before that. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs before that. You and I have been talking about it all year. He was hitting for average, hitting line drives. Once the power comes, watch out. And he might be the hottest hitter in the world right now, and he is just crushing the ball.
Yeah, last 4 games, I should say, he's been amazing. I mean, he's been crushing the ball all year. He's finally getting some loft under the ball, and that Texas lineup is finally starting to get it going around him, too, which has really helped the RBIs. Another guy that seems really, really cheap, despite not being incredible lately, is Adrian Gonzalez, only $3,900 against a righty tonight. Obviously, Tehran isn't terrible, but I mean, $3,900 makes him a pretty strong cash game play there, considering there's a ton of first basemen priced above him tonight. I think he's like 22nd on the list of first basemen or something like that.
Yeah, which is ridiculous for his output. And yeah, like you mentioned, Tehran not terrible, but he also has pretty bad splits against lefties so far this season. 446 WOBA allowed. So
yep.
I mean, obviously not typical. You expect that number's going to come down, but Adrian Gonzalez is certainly going to be in a fine spot to keep that number where it is tonight.
Yeah, I'm staying up towards the top. If I'm going cheap at all, I'm going Adrian Gonzalez because he's still a guy that has that kind of upside. We talk about it all the time. I'm not playing anybody cheap at first base with all the great options today. I mean, even David Ortiz looks good. Rizzo against Zimmerman, like you mentioned, with the wind blowing out. Goldschmidt facing a lefty and Garcia today against St. Louis. I mean, there's too many great options to just go down and punt to first base position.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. As we move on here to second base, I like Brian Dozier a lot. If you're not playing Buckholes,
yep.
He's really locked in. Had a double dong game a couple days ago. I don't love D. Gordon, lefty, but it is a bad lefty. Tournament only play for me, but not a guy I'm really looking at. As you look down a little bit cheaper, Brandon Phillips still hitting the ball well. Gets a bad lefty. Should be up at the top of the lineup again at $3,900. I'm looking his way. And then below that, if you want a cheap guy, I'm not going to say Robinson Cano. You can say that if you'd like. That ship has sailed as far as I'm concerned. But the guy I'm looking at is Logan Forsythe at $3,100 against J.A. Happ.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Danny Valencia, I was going to mention at third base, is a pretty decent cheap second base option at $3,100 against Danks. You mentioned target that Toronto righty-heavy lineup tonight. Forsythe, good call there. Not too much else I love. Martin Prado's an interesting guy to me, who I was also going to mention at third base. Another second base, third base combo there. $3,400 facing that weak lefty and Locke that you mentioned. Been hitting in between D. Gordon and Stanton there. I think he's a pretty strong play tonight also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get D. Gordon on, he steals the base, you get yourself an easy RBI, then Stanton brings you home. So
yep.
Definitely, considering your environment there, that certainly gives him an extra boost. So with that being said, second base not particularly deep, so that'll pretty much wrap it up. We'll move on here to third base. Nolan Arenado is absolutely on fire right now. Michael Lorenzen, only a few starts in the majors. He's been much worse against lefties and righties, but certainly in that ballpark, you got to give him some tournament look for $5,000. But your obvious play here, in case you are new to the world, Josh Donaldson against the bad lefty, especially at home in the Rogers Center, $4,600. If you could pay up, and if you're going to pay up, you're paying up for Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like Todd Frazier tonight, but at the same price against the lefty and De La Rosa, I mean, it's tough not to go Donaldson, but I don't mind Frazier a little bit in this one. Little bit cheaper guy, Alex Rodriguez against the lefty and Vargas. He's one of the few right-handed bats in that lineup for the Yankees. I don't mind him tonight at that price. There's one other guy. Oh, Chase Headley is another Yankee against that lefty that I think is a pretty decent play today. He's a switch hitter. Usually hits a little bit higher in the lineup when they face a lefty. I'm thinking he's probably going to hit second or fifth today. So I think that's a pretty solid price at $3,900 for him.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then I'll throw out one more. Evan Longoria, anytime he's facing a lefty, I'm considering him, and he's got J.A. Happ today. He's a $4,100 tournament-only guy for me because Happ hasn't been terrible against righties this year, but I certainly want some exposure in tournaments to a guy who just has always crushed lefties.
Yeah.
All right, moving on here to shortstop. Troy Tulowitzki, $5,300 is your top option price-wise. Still not paying his price until I see it. You better hit one into the seats before I'm paying $5K for you, Mr. Tulowitzki. So for me, That's out. Brandon Crawford against Matt Garza in Miller Park. I like at $4,500. But I think where I'm going more often than not, should be batting second against the lefty, is going to be Zach Cozart against Jorge De La Rosa in Cincinnati.
Okay, I like that one. Same price exactly. Brad Miller, lefty against Colon, the righty in Tampa Bay. Not nearly as good a ballpark, but considering he's playing in Seattle, I think we can give him a break on only playing in Tampa Bay today.
Yeah.
I like both of those guys at 3,300. I think that's a really strong way to go at shortstop today. You mentioned Crawford, obviously red hot. I don't love his seventh spot in the lineup for the price that he's at now.
It makes no sense to me. I still don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why he's hitting 7, especially when he's been red hot. But, I mean, we've seen this from him before where he has a really nice stretch in the first half, and then he just is toast the rest of the way.
Yep.
So we'll see if this is actually a breakout. He's been in the majors for a long time because of his glove, and I mean, I would think at some point he would figure out how to put a whole season together. So maybe this is it. But I thought that last year also. So
yeah, I mean, you're running out of time. We're not going to be playing forever there, Mr. Crawford. So,
yeah, right. So I think he's more of a GPP play, hitting 7th. Yeah. You're looking for a home run there more than anything. Not too much else I'm loving at shortstop today. Some of these other guys that are in decent lefty-righty matchups, like Semien and Elian Herrera, are facing Bumgarner and Price. Don't love that. Like I said, I'm probably going Miller or who's the other guy that you mentioned? Cozart. Those are probably the two guys. They're hitting 1-2 in the order. I just feel really good about them at that price. It's just too strong of a cash game play. GPPs, you can go a little bit differently with Crawford and guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw Jose Reyes out there, too. He just came back from his injury yesterday, hit a double. 4,200 seems pricey, but we already mentioned about 1,000 times how good that matchup is. So, you know, if he's actually healthy, who knows if he's going to be healthy for more than 3 or 4 days this time. But, you know, either way, take advantage while he's in there. Guy can do it all.
Yeah.
As we move to the outfield, Bryce Harper's your third most expensive guy. You're certainly looking at him for your tournaments at 5,300 against Kyle Hendricks. Mike Trout, Odrismer Despain has been one of the worst among the starters tonight, one of the worst against righties. So, obviously, Mike Trout can play against everyone, but especially tonight at home against a bad pitcher. Elsewhere in the outfield, this guy has first base eligibility, but I'm going to consider him here because I'm certainly not going to be playing there. There's actually two guys. One was Michael Kadire against Jerome Williams. 7 homers allowed to righties already. 3,800 like him. And then I think you know where I'm going with this other one. Chris Colabello, $3,400 against John Danks, especially if Jose Bautista is out again because he should be batting right around 5th.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if Bautista's out, he's a fantastic play. It sounds like he's going to be. I'd be kind of surprised if they brought him back for tonight despite the good matchup. So I like that play a lot. Giancarlo Stanton against Locke is probably the expensive way I'm going if I'm paying up for an outfielder, but there's a lot of value out there today in the outfield. So that's probably where I'm going to be looking to save some money. I mean, even guys like Billy Burns, if he's hitting leadoff against a lefty, I mean, he's a guy that needs to get on base one time and has been stealing a base almost every time he's been on base lately, and it's just a really solid value option. Ryan Rayburn facing a lefty in Rodriguez against Texas today, probably going to hit. I think they moved Santana up to second over the last 5 or 6 games here, and Rayburn's been hitting like 4th against lefties. So, I mean, that's as good a batting order spot as you can ask for from a guy like that for 2,800 on DraftKings. Yeah. Outside of that, Will Venables playing almost every day right now at 3,200, facing a righty and Shoemaker that we've been targeting a bit in the past. There's a lot of value options today. I could go on and on here about value options in the outfield. I feel really good about a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should easily be able to get your big pitchers you want in there. And I'll throw out one guy I really like in tournaments. I'm certainly not playing him in cash games, but Ryan Braun. It is against Madison Bumgarner, but hitter's park there, and he's been absolutely destroying lefties. He looks like the well, I don't know if I'll say the old Ryan Braun. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say here, but Ryan Braun looks like the Ryan Braun that used to crush the baseball. All right. Well, with that, that's going to wrap things up for us. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe and check out all of our content for tonight's slate at dailyfantasycafe.com, and we'll catch you guys next time.